Alright, hello YouTube. I wanted to do a video today on changing the spark plugs on a 2011 Dodge Charger. So, just like that. It's got the 3.6 liter V6. It's dumping rain today, so hopefully you can hear me. And of course the wind's out of the south, so it's blowing it right into my garage. But anyway, I'm trying to get this video done. I didn't realize how much of a pain in the butt this is going to be. To start off with, to actually access the spark plugs, I must take off the cover. Right there, top of the engine cover, it just pops on, pops right off on these little rubber ball mounts. And then you have to remove the intake inlet hose, a couple screws, little clamps, and then this plug right here comes out of the tube itself. So let me get some more light here. Once you're done with that, these three, 1, 2, and 3 are easy. It's a 10mm bolt. Take that out, pop it out, spark plugs in and out, back together. It takes literally 2 minutes. Easy stuff. My spark plugs were not in the greatest shape. I can focus on these. Anyway, they were kind of worn. 80,000 miles. First time I'm doing it. Yeah, I know I should have done it earlier, but anyway, now for this side, for the left bank, it's a little more complicated because the intake manifold sits over the top of it, or the intake. So, there's all these little screws. 2 here. There's one sticking up right there. One down inside this hole. You can see it. There's one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws that have to come out right here on top. Then you have to come over here because see this little bracket right here, that little stud, there's a nut that goes on that, and one right here on that one. Okay, no big deal. However, you can't pry it out from underneath there because you have to come over to this side and take off that one right there, the nut off that one, and then there's another one right there behind it. If you can see it underneath the hose right there, there's another nut. You got to take those two off. Well, that's great, but those are studs going through solid brackets. So I've pulled all the hoses off and everything to kind of get it out of the way. There you can see both of them. One right there and one right back there. So you take those off. Well, now it's still, the studs are all stuck under the brackets on this side and the brackets on this side. So then you have to go down here underneath where the bracket actually mounts. You see that? Right down there. Tip of my finger. That's another bolt sticking out, or another stud. So you loosen that one up, that's a 1/2 inch. These are 10mm. 1/2 inch down there, 1/2 inch on this one. However, this one back here has a nut, and then this hard line's mounted to it, so you gotta loosen the nut, and then pull the hard line out of the way, and then loosen the stud, or the bolt itself, with the 1/2 inch, so this bracket will fall away. So now you can see, that bracket's fell away. See if I can put some light on it while you watch. See, this normally goes up. You got it pulled up there, over that. Okay, I missed something back here. Missed this hose right here. This is connected to the back of the intake manifold, or the intake. So, little hose clamp for channel locks. Squeeze that together. There we go. Get that slid off. And now that hose should pull off of there. Maybe. With the help of a screwdriver. Now if I'm doing this completely wrong, somebody let me know. There we go. Okay. Now that hose is off. And hopefully, there we go. Lift out. Cool. Alright. Okay, now then, nice piece of memory foam here on top. Keep them all bedded down. Now, and there we go. Now I have access to the other 3 spark plugs. Good stuff. And the rain continues to fall. Alright, so, like I said before, 10mm socket, take out the bolts. 1, 2, 3 out of each coil pack. Pop them off. There it goes. Now, spark plug is way down in there. Let me grab my flashlight. That spark plug way down in there. So, deep well, 5/8 socket, and what I do is I put a little piece of electrical tape over the edge because this isn't a spark plug socket. A piece of electrical tape, and that helps hold the spark plug when I go to reinstall. This one I'm using my extendo magnet to pull them out. So, then break these loose without busting my knuckles. As you can see, the intake manifold has these little O-rings on there. Want to make sure that they're all seated in good shape before you put everything back together. You don't want an intake leak. These things have like 2-inch long threads on them. So, okay, magnet, stick down in there, and there's my spark plug. It's a boy! Alright, yep, this one, just like the other side, quite a bit of wear. So, I know it's not going to focus on that, but maybe you can kind of see it. They don't look that pretty. Time for a change. Okay, for putting the spark plugs back in, I took out the Champion spark plugs. I'm putting auto lights back in because that's what they had. A little bit of the anti-seize compound on the threads, and then some boot protector up on the upper part. I have taken spark plugs out before and tore the boots apart trying to get them off, so never used it when I was younger, but found myself using it. And with these being like aluminum heads, and with the problem with Fords tearing out threads and things in the heads, I always use the anti-seize compound on the threads. Anyway, when you put the anti-seize on, not too much, just a little, light coat around there, like they say, light coat. You coat them too much, I've heard where it will melt down, get over the electrode, and then it won't work anymore. It'll basically fall out your plug and it'll be junk. So when you put that on, just a light coat. So let me finish putting these back in. I got 1 done, 2 left, and then I'll be done, and it'll be time for reassembly. Okay, well, got the intake manifold or intake put back on. There's 2 little nubs, a little nub at the front and a little nub at the back. You got to make sure that those line up in these little cups, or the thing won't set down on there. Don't forget your hemorrhoid pillow. Put that in underneath first. And now there's all these little screws that are basically threading in the plastic, so I'm cheating. I'm getting on my drill. Just get them knocked out. There we go. So, snug them up with the ratchet, and then go back to putting on the 2 bolts over there and 2 bolts at the back. Alright, so got the intake manifold brackets on, the intake brackets. There's that one down there, that one down there. To get that one loose, right down there underneath that, right down there you can see the stud. You're going to need a 1/2-inch open end wrench, and then to get this one right back here that attaches the hard line, you're going to need a 3/8 drive shallow well 1/2-inch to get the nut off, to get the hard line out of the way, and then a 1/2-inch open end once again to loosen the stud. You don't have to take the studs all the way out, just loosen them up about 2 full turns to get you enough room to move that bracket out of the way. So Now, got the little nuts here. Once again, 10mm. Okay, here we go. Time for startup. Everything looks good. Everything figured out where it needs to be. So the problem was that when my wife would fire it up, it would kind of idle up and down a little bit, little rough idle. Acceleration was good, gas mileage was still fine, but there's a problem with just an idle, and it sounded kind of iffy, and I knew the spark plugs were getting bad, so it was time to change them. Okay, so it's all back together. Just got to pop the top back on there, the cover, and total time for the repair was about an hour and a half. Not too bad. That's with filming and everything. But just a recap: tools used, 1/4" drive, 10mm socket, 8mm socket, flathead screwdriver, deep well, 5/8, 3/8 drive for the spark plugs, 1/2" shallow drive, 1/2" open end wrench, a 10" open end wrench, 10mm wrench, and a pair of channel locks, and then optional 1/4" drive on the drill. And then boot grease and things, and spark plug. So, job complete. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped you out. And Dinstar.